Okay, so right here, you guys, right here with your brush, you got your brush tool, pencil tool, we'll talk about that later. Mixer brush tools. Now we're going to start talking about this brush. Now, it's a weird brush. So this is probably going to, it's not, I should say it's weird. It's a really interesting tool. We're going to probably do 2, maybe 3 parts to this tool because it does a lot of stuff. And it's probably one of your most powerful tools, you know, for digital painting. If you want to get into painting that looks very traditional, like real oil painting or whatever, watercolor, whatever. So we have this customized bar up here, our toolbar up here. And one of the things you'll notice right here is the sample of layers again, which you talked about before. And in this case, and I'll use it in a minute here, you can literally work on a clear layer above your paint surface or whatever you're doing and affect it just like you're working on it, but it's on its own layer, okay? Which I almost always use. Now, let's just come in here and I've got my, I don't have a color. Okay, so if you notice right here, these 2 little things right here, there's something kind of weird about this, but right now it's clear. Okay, so you can see right here, it's showing the brush with a line through it, which means no color. And then this shows the brush picking up color. So I'm gonna click that, and what that's doing is now it's giving me a color. So if you drop down here, it has the option of load solid colors only, load brush, or clean brush. For now, we're just going to concentrate until tomorrow. We're going to just go load solid colors or clean brush is all we're concerned with today. And you can see it's already sort of making a painterly mark. Now, I'm going to switch colors here. And you can see it sort of mixes into that paint below it. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Now, some of these things always throw me. Hang on a second. Okay. Right here where it says mix. Okay, so load is exactly what it says. It's how much paint is loaded on the brush. So let's knock it down. You got it pretty wet. Okay, and wet means exactly what it says. So let's just pretend this is watercolor. It's how much water's in it. Or turpentine or whatever, however you want to look at it. And then our flow, let's pull. Now the flow, you can see how it changes, how it's flowing off the brush. So if I take it down, and let's take the load down more. So we don't have a lot of paint on the brush. We don't have a lot of wetness, and you can the flow. It's weird. If I take it down, it's sort of going to give me a little more control where it will start to. If I have it at 100, the paint might just really flow off of it, and then I can pull it back where I can lean on my pressure sensitivity a little more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to really play with them, which is what we'll do today. So let's go. Now let's bring up the wetness of this brush. And usually with the load, if I bring it down and the flow down, the paint will actually run out, just like a real brush. Like you take a load of paint and it'll sort of run out. It'll do the same thing right now. And it depends on the brush. They all do it a little differently. So I'm going to go. So let's go back to a heavy load of paint. And put the flow up. And okay, so here's the other thing. When you would think when you put the mix at 100, that would be the most whatever, most paint. Actually, it's not. If I put the mix low, if I pull up the mix, you notice I get less paint, more mixing with the undercolor and less paint. So if I put less mix, I'm going to get more color, and more mix, it mixes more with the other paint. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can do with this brush. Okay, and we're going to find that out over the next day or two. Now, another thing I like to do here is mix colors this way. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, look, I can do this. I'm going to put another layer here. I already have it right there. And it's on sample all layers. So you can see it's still affecting, it's mixing with the paint below it. So if I go here, I can turn those off. I can get rid of them, which is really handy. And you can see if I get the right kind of brush, what brush do I have here? Oops. Let's try. Let's try. So any of these should be able to be assigned as long as they're not already assigned to something else. That's interesting. Let's try this one. That's kind of nice. So you can start to see here, this brush, see, it's got a nice little oily edge. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So I might come in here. Let's go. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's go. Or let's go. Oops. I'm going to put the one where I clean the brush. What's weird is sometimes these buttons don't react the way you think they would. Now I'm going to switch back to a different brush again. So that's a flat curve. Let's go back to. Let's just go to this one. Okay, so it's clear now. So now essentially it's acting like a smudge brush, but I'm using them. I can use whatever brush I want. I can dial it in really cleanly. So I could come in here with something like this. So right now, all I'm doing is just smudging, and I'm on this top layer. So all that can change. I can create more. But maybe I would come in here. Start to create like a ground texture. Real loose. And then I could start to pull leaves or a grass. Let's see if I can find that other brush again. There it is. I'm getting this really nice little broken edges here. Yeah, I would mix it up with different brushes and things like that.
Mike, are you using additional brush pack options or than what we would have if we didn't add any at this point?
Just using the same brushes I gave you guys.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, a lot of times I just make a custom brush for these things. But I'm not that picky on brushes. As long as I got a couple of rough brushes, you know, loose rough brushes and a good solid drawing brush, that's about all I need. But with this, I'm even no matter what brush I'm using, I'm dialing so many things in that I'm customizing the brush as I go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we probably already have a really good variety at this point.
Yeah, you should have a pretty good variety. But you can see the difference of what it does. Like look how it's pulling off that really cool little like canvas texture right there. And I'm going to show you also how to build some of that into your brushes, like canvas texture and just different things like that. So you can see how painterly that gets, correct?
Yes.
Now let's go, it's 100% wet. I'm gonna put the flow up just to the hell of it. Yeah, so you can see now it's pulling a lot more. So if I want to if I really lean on it, what's really nice is when I really lean on it with the flow all the way up, it really picks up that canvas texture. So it changes a little bit. Let's put the mix at, now this mix shouldn't matter as much here. Yeah, I don't think it really, well, I guess it does in how much it's mixing, because there's no color in this right now. Yeah, it does seem like it's mixing more actually. So if I want to get these colors really mixing together, I can start to really get a wheat feel with this kind of thing going. And I'd have to go in and finesse it, but because I couldn't leave the brush strokes where they look, or even like that, I could get some nice naturalistic kind of plants and things. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes.
Load is how much paint you have on there. Wet is how much liquid you have on your brush. So if it was oil paint, think of it as turpentine or medium. The mix is how much color you're getting. So if it's at 1, you're getting max color. At 100, you're mixing the most with the color. So you'll actually feel like you're getting less color. Flow is just, flow is sort of a strength thing. Like how strong or not strong is my brush strokes. And that's mostly it, okay? And then we either want to have a clean brush here, or we want to go to load solid colors only. So this, I have it, let's flip it, and let's go, let's take the mix down. Oh, see, this is what it does sometimes. It'll go back to, there it goes. So now I got quite a bit of red going on because I got the mix at 4. So I'm going to take this up a little bit and get less. There, see, now you can see it's really mixing with that color underneath, which is really nice. So you can really control this. You can also do everything, more or less everything you've been doing with the smudge brush this way. You can just pick a brush you like, it gets an edge you like, clean out the brush, and then just manipulate your edges, sort of like we've been doing the other thing. So this tool does a ton of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you really have to get, I think, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say you really have to, but I would get good at it. Especially if you want to get in digital painting. This is like, if you really want to get in digital painting, get really good at it and get really cool painterly looking stuff, you need to get good at the mixer brush, which isn't hard. Okay, questions on that? No?
Did you want us to make an actual like painting of something?
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a little assignment here, but I would go in here and just do what I'm doing and manipulate paint. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would just go in and manipulate paint and see how it works. So you're not, when I'm trying out new tools and things like that, I don't even want to think about making a painting. I just want to go, I want to get dialed into the tools so I kind of know what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, then I can worry about making a paint. I'm going to use my object selection tool. By the way, guys, there's another color exercise I usually do. I think I'm just going to do a demo on it, only because I've been thinking about it, and I don't know that it's necessary other than introducing you to the idea. So I'll probably do a demo on it, and I think I have a tutorial on it also. Okay, so let's go. We got a lot of white in here, so I'm just going to kind of half-ass erase this white. So a lot of times when you get these kind of things, this is what you end up with. I'm going to put another layer above this guy so I'm not screwing it all up. And then I'm going to get a mixer brush and I'm going to assign it to this one. I'm going to keep that one. I want this clear. Oops. Clean brush. Let me see how big this brush is. I think it's too big. And so I jump back. I don't know why it does that sometimes. And I'm gonna kind of pull some of this out. I want maybe, I'm gonna put the mix up higher. Let's try that. Too much. And ideally what I want to do is just get a brush. This is kind of working. It's just going to pull some of these out sort of in a hair-like way, like kind of like that. And I'm being a little heavy-handed with it, but let's tone down the wetness of this. I just want to see what that does. That's a little too much. So I'd find a brush. This one's not terrible, but, and all I'm trying to do is pull a little of that hair over the background. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like here, I'd probably want to get, it's mixing. And I've got it sample all layers. So what's happening there is when I do this, it's pulling some of that background into the dog, which I think is a good thing. You see that? Oops, that's too much. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys should be excited. This brush is very exciting. So if I pull out, you can see I'm starting to get a more natural edge right there. You see that? Right here?
Yeah.
This, I'd have to remove more of this white. There's too much white in there. And then let's go back to brush. Now, another thing I would do is I would come down here. This is sort of like we did with our tombstones, only in a different way. And I'd pull some of this grass up into to her feet. This looks like the girl dog. And I'd have to adjust this brush probably, but it's not too bad. And you can see now I can pull it over her paws, sort of like it feels like the grass is kind of, you know, over them, which is nice little. And then if I go up here, I can turn that off and it's gone, which is really nice to have that kind of flexibility. So nothing I'm doing, see, that's pretty nice right there. That's pretty believable right there. You guys see that little part right there that I just did?
Yeah.
You see how we're starting? She's starting to feel like she's in that environment a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, another problem here is that she's too bright in this environment. So I'm going to knock down the value a little. Oops. Let's see if I can I'm just going to cheat and do it here. Yeah. So I'm going to knock down the brightness of that dog. And then this over here is bugging the shit out of me. Hang on. So this, I think I would just take it down because I can pull the fur back out. Oh, yeah. So I still got this up here. So now I have to probably, yeah, erase that too. So I'm just going to erase out what I did before because it's still picking up the white in it when it was before. Here, I'm going to take a little more out. Now I'm going to go back up here, back to my mixer brush. You know, and I'd probably be, you know, I'd find I might make a brush for this, I was doing this for real. I don't want to get it soft everywhere. I want to make it just look like there's a little bit of hair coming out. I'm going to pull up the wetness of this a little bit. Yeah. Just here and there, I want to get a little more, like probably here where it's really heavy. I'll probably pull a little more fur out of there. Now, I'm going to put another layer here, and I'm going to go load solid colors only. And then I'm going to sample this. I'm going to sample this. Shit, it's not supposed to do that. I don't know why it's doing that. We want to sample solid colors. There it goes. Okay, so I had to go. Oh, that's why it had to be option. I was hitting control. So I'm going to go. I want to turn the mix down. I'm going to turn the wetness down. And what I could do here, I'm going to turn the wetness or the mix down more. And what I'm doing here is I could get a little bit of that bounced. Let's get a little more of it. There it goes. I can get a little bit of that green mixing into this fur. I think it needs to be brighter. Oops. Because we want it to load solid color. Not what it's doing there is taking a pictures more or less. So this is a little brighter. There, that's a little better. And I could mix a little bit of this green in here. And there's a lot of ways I could do that. You know, and get a little bit of that bounce light in the forest into there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So basically, when I put a layer up here and it's on sample all layers, I could come in, because I had a student do this one time. They went in and they softened this painting up with different brushes, mixer brushes, and they made the whole painting look like an oil painting. All right, you guys, I will see you in the morning. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Go ahead. Oh, I'll put